everybody and welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to be doing something a little different from what we normally do on here. It's not going to be a tutorial, which is wild to me, but we're actually going to be discussing a con I went to a couple of weekends ago, which was MCM London. And I'm sure we've all heard of MCM London because it is the biggest convention in the UK convention calendar, but I was there and yeah, this is going to be the review for that convention. So fun times, and let's get right into it. Woo! So first we're going to start with the con overview. So this is just going to be like the sort of overview of what like the con was, where it was, like my thoughts on it, blah blah blah. You get where I'm coming from. We've been here long enough. So I went to MCM in October, as it's always the last weekend of October, and they do it twice a year. So they do one in May, last weekend of May, and one in October, last weekend in October, along with the Birmingham con that they do. But London is the biggest convention in the MCM Reed Pop calendar. So yes, I was there. I was actually lucky enough to be granted a creator pass for this convention, and that was wonderful. Like, I thank MCM so much for even giving me the chance to have a creator pass so I can make videos like this for you guys. This wouldn't be possible without them giving me the creator pass, because MCM's expensive and I can't afford to go to it. But I'm wonderfully thankful, and that's why I'm here today, to talk to you all about the convention. Woo! So this con, in my opinion, was miles better than the con I went to in May. I paid for my own ticket to MCM May in 2022, and I have to say I was kind of underwhelmed, you know? It was a vibes con. Like, I hung out with my best friend and it was truly the vibes, but the convention itself it left me lacking, if you get what I mean. Like, there was stuff to do, but at the same time it felt like there was nothing to do. And I spent a lot of time outside, the halls were too busy, it was way overcrowded, and I just lived at the Fringe stage for 2 days. So, but this time in October it felt so much better. The layout felt better, the ticket caps on Friday and Sunday felt better. We'll get into Saturday, because Saturday was still, in my opinion, a mess. But everything was better, there was more stuff to do, and sure, the Fringe stage wasn't there, it was my favourite thing to do anyway, but it made up with it in terms of all the other things that was there for people to do. So, plus one for MCM October. But yeah, it made it more of a happy and enjoyable experience than it did in May, and yeah, that's the vague overview of the convention. So let's hop right into the review. So first we have the positives. Everybody loves a positive. What's better than a positive? Absolutely nothing, if you ask me. So, as I talked about previously, we're going to start like talking about what there was to do and what there was to see and the spacing. So as I mentioned, there was no Fringe stage, which meant that if you were outside there was nothing to do, but there was people to hang out with. All the meets were outside, and I think that was great. Like, Fringe for me in May was great because I could go out there and just sit and enjoy what was going on and not be in the crowded of the halls, but I didn't need that this time round, because on the Friday and the Sunday, with the new spacing and the layout, I didn't feel overwhelmed. It was easy to navigate around, there was nobody like bumping into me all the time, and it was just much better, and I didn't have to be outside. Saturday is another question, but we're leaving that for the negatives. We don't want to be negative in the positive section. But yeah, it was overall, the spacing for those 2 days was brilliant, and there wasn't too many people. I mean, there was a lot of people, this is MCM, but there wasn't too many people, and it was perfectly good, in my opinion, to just walk around, have a good time, and not get banged into 13-year-old cosplaying My Hero Academia. What's not to love? Anyway, let's get on to what there was to do at October that I found was better than in May. So, the content that was on the Pop Asia stage, which is the stage I spend 90% of my time at, was so much more varied this year in October than it has been any year I've been to MCM. There was J-pop, there was K-pop, there was everything that you could think of was there. Like, if you wanted to go to an origami making class, you could go. If you wanted to go to a K-pop random dance, which I want to go to a lot of, you could go. Like, it was so varied, and there was something for everyone, and there was never anything where you felt bored on Pop Asia, and I love that, because Pop Asia is, in my opinion, the best stage. best thing to do if you ask me. The Sega booth. Now, let me just tell you, this was one of my favourite things of the entire weekend. Like, all the game demos, all the people were so lovely. Like, it really made it feel like an old convention again. Like, I haven't had the old con. I am old. I'm talking like 2015, 2016 here. But like the old con vibe, like where you could go to a con, buy stuff, but then there was also like games companies that brought their newest releases so you could play them, and that was like, it really felt like that, and it gave me like the love for like 2016 conventions back to me again, and it felt real. Like, we got to play Yakuza, like the new one, Ishin, and it was so cool. Like, they had Sonic, I'm not gonna go into it because I'll be here all day, but the Sega booth was amazing. 10 times better than the Genshin booth last year. I mean, I hate Genshin anyway, but 10 times better and more things for everybody and not just like one particular fandom, and I really liked that. The variety of sellers they had in Artist Alley and otherwise, oh, I was so pleased. Sometimes you go to MCM and it's just the same stalls over and over again. Not the artists, but the stalls. But this year, it felt like there were so many more artists, like independent artists there. And it was wonderful. I got to meet so many new artists, buy so much merch. It was very bad for my bank account, but I loved it. Like, the fact that MCM has let more artists be there instead of like the same Funko Pop trader over and over again. Some other conventions. Then it was wonderful to see them giving back to the community in the way that more people could be there and show off their art. It was amazing. I loved it. And also, finally, on my final point of things to do, Bandai Namco were there, come on, like, what more could you want? But they brought claw machines, they brought the Gashapon, I couldn't remember them then, I was like, the little twisty thing that you put your money in. Gashapon machines, they had those, they had claw machines, they had stuff to do. It was amazing. Like, the range of external big companies that they had. Flawless. Sega, Bandai Namco, Good Smile Company. It was, I really appreciated that. Like, they didn't just have like one booth like they had like in May, like for Genshin, which was, I have opinions and we're not going to voice them, but I loved that they had a variety and there was something for everyone. And it was just great. Obsessed. Love it. So you can imagine that with all the things on offer, it might have gotten overwhelming. But for me, on Friday and Sunday, it didn't. It was wonderful. Like, as I've spoken about, the layout was great. People were lovely. Saturday, obviously, is a different story, but I think it was great.
One technical difficulty later.
So, getting back onto the spacing, like, I am an autistic and disabled creator, as many of you will know from my Instagram, or just me genuinely complaining about things all the time. So, I tend to get overwhelmed a lot, and I'm glad that they had the reset room there again this year. I had spoke about that in May in one of my reviews, and wonderful, lovely, loved it, because it was great for someone like me who could just go and decompress and not have to worry about the convention. But with how it was spaced and stuff like that on Friday and Sunday, I didn't have to worry about it all, and I thought that was absolutely fantastic, because it's normally something I have to plan to account into my day in case I get overwhelmed or I need to sit down, but perfectly fine. I was happy. It was wonderful. And on the topic of autism, disability, and everything accessibility, we are going to get on to my final positive of MCM, and that was the introduction of the accessibility stickers. So for those of you who don't know, I was about to pick my lanyard up then and I realised my creator pass isn't even here. So for those of you that don't know, MCM introduced stickers that you could put on your passes, because obviously you get lanyard cards, like weekend, normal, whatever, entry, and you get a little sticker with little orange sticker with a little man on it, and you stick them on your lanyard, and it allows security and the staff to know that you have extra access needs. So maybe you need to go in the accessible entrance, maybe you need extra help in the convention. It's kind of like a sunflower lanyard, but for hidden disabilities and seen disabilities and everything in between. So you just pick up your when you pick up your badge, you go to customer services, you pick up your little sticker, they give it you, and then it helps you in the con, and I thought it was amazing. Like, I didn't need to like fight to go through the access door as I sometimes need to do, because security are big-headed men who don't care, but you just showed them your little badge and you could walk right in. It allowed you to ask staff, well, I mean, you can ask staff for help anyway, but it allowed you to just ask staff for help and they would know because you got your little sticker. I just thought it was great. It was wonderful. And security were a lot nice this time round as well. Especially, I don't know if it was just because I had the access lanyard, but they're normally a bunch of not very nice people. But yeah, this time they were actually a lot better with me and I was very happy about that and it was great. So overall, there was quite a lot of positives and I'm glad MCM took on feedback from me because it was definitely things I've heard people talk about and I've talked about it myself. And I'm glad that they took on that feedback and I think it made it a better convention experience on most of the weekend, barring Saturday, but we are about to get onto that. But yeah, I think it was great and good job, MCM. I don't rarely say it because they can fall down in aspects sometimes, but I'm going to say it. Well done, MCM. You took on our feedback and it was great, so thank you. And now we're going to get on to the not so positives. The not so positives. Can you tell I've learned how to use effects? No one should have ever let me learn how to do this. I'm just going to be doing this all the time for whatever I say, whenever I want to now. Whoops. Sorry, not sorry. I think it's great. Anyway, the not so positives. Unfortunately, as with all conventions, this isn't MCM specific. There is always negatives. And it always, normally for me, comes in the form of disability, accessibility, and overcrowding. They're the three big things normally. I can't keep my fingers together. So the first one we're going to go in with, well, to preface this, I don't believe in sugarcoating anything. So these comments might sound harsh, but it is the hard truth. I believe that convention owners should hear the hard negatives about their conventions and take them on board, because that's what improves the convention, especially if it's coming from minoritized groups, people who've had issues, or just anyone in general, really. But if they don't take it into consideration, that's where the problems lie. But I believe in bringing it to the forefront, so these are my opinions. This is me saying this, nobody else. But yeah, keep that in mind when you listen to this bit, because I am going to start ranting and it's going to be very bad. But yeah, fun times. So, my first complaint, negative, what you want to call it, it's the same one I make every year without fail at every single convention. No. But it's overcrowding, overselling tickets, whatever. Friday and Sunday, perfectly manageable. Saturday, I spent 90% of my time outside on the green because it was just too overcrowded, oversold, and full of people with no convention etiquette whatsoever. And I think that is a fault of the TikTok generation, like the people who'd never been to cons pre-pandemic and they don't know what the etiquette is. And I can't blame them for that, but it's not good. And I'm not a fan of it. But every year I say it, overcrowding and overselling of tickets, and it's just too busy. You can't move in the halls, you can't get around, and especially for someone who is a walking stick user, I have a walking stick as an aid. It makes you feel invisible because people will either just stop in front of you, they'll look at you and just stop in front of you, just stop dead. Like, I have friends in wheelchairs and they'll just stop in front of them. It's horrendous. But also, when it is so busy, they just knock your aids out of the way. They'll just, like, kick them out of the way or just run into you, and they don't care, they don't apologise, they just glare at you for being in the way. And yet, it's a fault of overcrowding. It is a fault of people, but it's a fault of overcrowding. If you're cramming that many people into a small space where you have a lot of con attendees that are disabled, are autistic, have access needs, and you're cramming this many people in, something is bound to go wrong. And it goes wrong at every convention I've ever been to. There is no con that has ever done it perfectly, in my opinion. And it's just annoying that con owners won't take on this feedback and they won't stop overselling tickets. I get it. You need to make money. You need us to make money. I get that you oversell tickets, but overselling tickets is what leads to negative experiences. And if conventions didn't oversell tickets, there would be less negative experiences. That's just my 2 cents on it anyway. But yeah, that is that. And this next one isn't a complaint of the con itself. This is a complaint of the attendees of the convention. So this isn't the MCM fault, because MCM did put out, and I'm going to give this to them, numerous infographics before the convention, being like, this is how you act at the con. If you've never been to a con before, have some guides. They were wonderful guides, and I praise them greatly for them, because no other con I've seen has ever done that before, and I am obsessed with it. I love it. It's amazing. However, the attendees, and I think it's definitely prevalent in younger attendees. I'm not calling out young people, like, older people have done this as well, but, like, the group of people who have never been to cons before and didn't know the rules pre-pandemic seems to be the ones in fault for it. But they just seem to be, they seem to have a lack of empathy. And it's like, as I mentioned, I and many of my friends are disabled creators, and they make you feel invisible. It's like, you can, sometimes I don't need the stick, and sometimes I do, and I'll be walking with it, and they'll just give you horrible glares, and they won't ask you, like, they won't talk to you, they won't ask you for pictures, whatever. But the second that you put your walking aid away, I got swarmed for pictures. Like, I was Samus on Saturday, and when I had the stick, people would not even speak to me. As soon as I put that stick away, the same people who wouldn't speak to me swarmed me for photos, like, and it's just this double standard, and, like, they just treat disabled attendees like they don't exist until that they can pretend that they don't exist, and I'm just not a fan of it. And they also don't understand the con etiquette of not taking photos without consent, not running up to people, not stealing their props, yada yada yada. We all know, we've been here long enough. And yeah, it's obviously not a fault of MCM, but it is also what it did happen at the con, so I do have to bring it up in the negative section. But it's not on, and I'm not a fan of it, and I'm not a fan of how it's not being called out by conventions. I obviously run the disability and accessibility panel at MegaCon, and that seems to go down well, so I just hope that more people start to take notice of that and stop being horrible to disabled creators. And that's really all I have to say on that topic. Overall, though, the positives did outweigh the negatives for me, and although MCM and Repop, they do need to take a careful look at capacity, and I mean, like, get the binoculars out and break it down. You don't need that many people in your convention. You will still make money, even if you don't have an oversold convention, because it is becoming, some people will not be able to deal with it. Like, I know people who refuse to go on Saturdays anymore because it's too busy and they can't cope. And that's MCM losing out on business. But aside from that, all my other issues were minor. They were just me issues, so I'm not going to add them. And yeah, overall, October MCM 2022, positives outweighed the negatives. Wonderful con. I had such a good time. It was amazing. Thank you, MCM. Good job, guys. Woo! So I'm going to give you all a TLDR, too long don't read, because some people were just going to skip to the very end. They're going to be like, oh, what did they talk about in this review, but I don't want to watch all 10 minutes of it. Yeah, well, I'm going to give you a TLDR. So, TLDR, a great con, but please sort out your capacity issues. The positive, lots to do. Sega, Bandai Namco, tons on Pop Asia, panels, cosplay contests, everything. Good spacing on quiet days. Friday, Sunday, brilliant. Spacing was amazing. Not too many people. We love to see it. Accessibility measures were on point. The stickers, the help, the lanyards, wonderful, lovely. We love to see it. The not so positives, overcrowding once again, as always. Cons have overcrowded and refuse to admit it and still continue to sell more tickets. Saturdays are becoming unviable for people who are easily overwhelmed because of the overcapacity, the issues, and everything, because it's just getting too much for people. And the treatment of disabled cosplayers by congoers. Big boo. People don't seem to have empathy anymore, or seem to understand what a convention is and why you shouldn't be horrible to people. TLDR, there you go. So, thank you everybody for coming along to this little review video. I know it's a little different than what I would normally do, but hey ho, I have a creator's pass, I was going to use it. So, thank you once again to MCM, and I hope you all enjoyed this content. You want to see more of this content. If you do want to see more of this content, drop a comment in the comments. Be like, tell me what you want to see. Be like, Fairy, we hated it, never do it again, and I will never do it again. Or you can be like, Fairy, oh, we loved it, do more reviews, and I will be like, good, I'm going to do them all at every con I go to, and y'all are going to love it. You might not love it, but who cares? Not me. But thank you everybody, as always, for supporting the channel, staying here for all these 10 years. God, it's been 10 years. I feel old. I really do. But yeah, thank you for being here. And as always, give it a like, give it a comment, maybe subscribe if you want to. And I'll see you all in the next video. Bye bye.